Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee say they are not finished with questions for Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker. NPR's Carrie Johnson reports Whitaker got a grilling in an oversight hearing.
Judiciary Committee Chairman Gerald Nadler says he fully expects to press Matt Whitaker to answer questions about his contacts with the White House at another interview in the near future. Whitaker's nearing the end of his tenure as acting attorney general. The Senate's likely to confirm his successor, William Barr, next week. At the hearing, Whitaker said he's done nothing to interfere with the special counsel's Russia investigation, but he refused to answer questions about his conversations with President Trump over a separate probe of campaign finance violations in New York. Whitaker says serving at the DOJ has been the honor of a lifetime, but he clashed several times with Democrats who urged him to stop filibustering and wasting time. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
Federal prosecutors in New York are reportedly looking at whether the National Enquirer's parent company violated a cooperation agreement in its handling of a story regarding Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. That's according to Bloomberg News. Bezos claims American Media Inc., the tabloid's parent company, threatened to publish intimate photos of him unless he halted an investigation into how the paper obtained his private exchanges with a woman he was having an affair with. AMI last year reached an agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office in exchange for immunity in the case connected to President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen. Prosecutors have not confirmed to NPR they're taking any actions. The World Trade Organization says South Korea can impose $85 million worth of trade sanctions on the U.S. because of new American tariffs that broke rules. NPR's Daniela Cheslow has more.
South Korea had challenged U.S. tariffs on imports of washing machines back in 2013. The U.S. said then that Samsung, LG, and Daewoo got unfair government subsidies and then sold their appliances too cheaply in the U.S. The World Trade Organization ruled in 2016 that the U.S. calculated the tariffs improperly and they were too high. But the U.S. did not lift its duties. South Korea had asked for more than $700 million in concessions. Awarded South Korea a small fraction of that amount. Last year, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on nearly all imported washing machines, including from South Korea. Those tariffs still stand, and South Korea has challenged them as well. Daniela Cheslow, NPR News, Washington.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says today, with the deadline approaching to reach a deal on border security, there are border security proponents on both sides of the aisle. Speaking to reporters on Capitol Hill today, the GOP lawmaker said not all Democrats are opposed to a wall along the southern border. McCarthy says he believes President Trump does have the ability to declare a national emergency to build the wall if he wants to. On Wall Street today, the Dow dropped 63 points. The Nasdaq was up 9 points. You're listening to NPR. Actors Equity Association, the union representing actors and stage managers, and the Broadway League, which represents producers and theater owners, have announced a new agreement. Jeff London reports it will end a month-long strike against developmental labs, the workshops, which precede full Broadway productions.
A quarter of the shows that are produced on Broadway work out their kinks in month-long developmental labs in rehearsal rooms around New York City. And the agreement between both sides had expired in 2017. The dispute centered around two issues: salary increases and profit sharing if a show moves to Broadway and recoups its initial investment. The new agreement, which will last 5 years, has 3 salary bumps built in, as well as profit sharing. In addition, there are health and pension benefits and a guaranteed 5-week rehearsal for new musicals. For NPR News, I'm Jeff London in New York.
British actor Albert Finney, an Academy Award-nominated star of such films as Tom Jones and Skyfall, has died. Finney's family saying today the actor passed away peacefully after a short illness with those closest to him by his side. Finney, who managed to largely avoid the Hollywood limelight over a 5-decade career, burst to international fame in the title role of Tom Jones in 1963. He also appeared in Murder on the Orient Express, The Dresser, and Erin Brockovich, receiving a total of 5 Oscar nominations. Albert Finney was 82 years old. Crude oil futures prices closed up slightly today, ending a fairly volatile week for the oil markets. Oil rose 8 cents a barrel to end the session at $52.72 a barrel in New York. I'm Jack Speer, NPR News in Washington.
Welcome back to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 5 minutes after the hour.
Well, thank you for hanging in and hanging on and listening to Tripping the Void on wbhm-db.com here at Paranormal Experience Radio with my awesome engineer and producer, Kat Hobson. This is her station. And thanks a lot for hanging all these breaks here and getting used to them, which I am not going to be. It's actually not been a problem for me so far. So I've got them actually on a cheat sheet next to me just to make sure that I try not to miss them. And Kat has been just so good to let me know that I'm getting closer or right at it and getting me back on. So that's awesome too. So thank you, Kat. And so we're talking about people doing all these things and knowing that you can get in to people who are just basically sell you a bunch of baloney with loads of sites that actually promise you the world, or people on LinkedIn that promise you that they can get you a divorce or get you the man or woman or partner of your dreams. They can get you that pup you always wanted, or that necklace that you always wanted, or that car that you always wanted. And all you got to do is send them $5,000 in the lock of your hair. Number one, please don't ever give anybody willfully a lock of your hair unless you know for sure that person is not going to do anything with it. Same. Word of the wise. But you can literally pay for anything these days in this instantaneous, instant gratification world, right? You can pay to be a student of these masters, so-called, and mistresses. You can even go to school or to studio. And I just got a question, what would they do with the hair? Well, in certain circumstances, people will actually pare down the hair and use it for different things. Stuff it into a voodoo doll. Number one is the number one way thing. Creepy thing, because it's me. It's Sarafine here. We're tripping the void. I'm going to tell you the worst thing that can happen, worst case scenario, is it ends up in a voodoo doll. That is horrible. Second worst thing is that somebody ends up binding you to them, or sticking something on you. Because if you give somebody a lock of your hair, even if it's teeny, that's still enough hair to do. That's your DNA right there. You can do a lot with that. So spell work of any kind could happen. But like I said, two of the worst case scenarios is the binding and the voodoo doll thing. It's no good. Just making sure whoever you give that to, it's somebody you definitely trust, and whoever asks that, you're very welcome. And so with all these masters and mistresses at schools, going to the studios to practice black arts or the arcane, or things as seen on TV, the great blah 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 blah. Things that you see or deem only in your wildest imaginings, and usually it is only in your wildest imaginings. I've seen some incredible stuff. Incredible! But it's not like Steven Spielberg type, CGI, like incredible. I mean, some of it's kind of borderline on that, but not entirely. So just please, air of caution always. And the internet, I mean, like I said, I'm a big fan of actual books, and not all authors are the greatest either, but like finding a partner, you got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince or princess. Well, you got to read a lot of books before you find your truth. And that's the ultimate thing. You need to find your own truth and get to learn it and get to know it and live it. So find the books that turn you on. Get to something that you're comfortable with. Your comfort level, your speed, something that speaks to you. And like if you're curious, and then there you go. But I don't like that you can just buy or do anything that you want, or you get these weirdos on the internet that want you to send them money, and they promise all these things. Black magic works for only $500, reliable, blah, blah, blah. It's like, none, okay. I've only seen very few people be able to pull off the things that they've actually said they could do. One of which is somebody that we actually interviewed with Chris Carr on Chris Carr and Clarissa Vasquez's show, Hidden World. on Tuesday. She's one of the people that I've actually seen pull off stuff she says she can. I've seen it. So that leaves a lot of other people who say a lot of stuff that can't pull it off. I mean, even Uri Geller back in the day, which was before my time. I mean, I'm not young, but I'm not that old, is that he got caught, laying it on a little bit on the thick side. So I'm basically asking that you basically know the demon in which you intend to play with. So it's better that you know before you go, because some Wiccan items aren't even safe. It's like, oh yes, it's a white light spell. It's just for a prayer to keep you safe, or it's just for this or whatever. But nothing is 100% ever. You just kind of need to be present and go with your gut and understand that if it feels a little hinky, then it probably is. So definitely. So, one thing that I decided when we were talking about black magic is one of the most important things, like I said, you're going to get tired of hearing it because I'm going to beat a dead horse to death and then resurrect it and beat it again. Not really, because I love animals, but hypothetically, I love books. I'm a collector of books. I love books. I decided to list off and talk about a few of the best black magic books there are. I'm not going to say exactly why they are. I just went going down the wheres and the whys and the fours. It is a little bit wordy. It's a little bit. This is what took me to the nth of the moment. I was actually going to try to have a piece of toast or something and some tea, but that didn't quite work out before I had to jump on. But at least I got these down because there's so many books. It's hard to pick just one. Because I just won't ever be that person. I'm a Libra, and so I could never have a choice because I can't just pick one thing. I'll be there forever. So, like I said, when you're a practitioner, one of the biggest things that you need to get around is understanding of basic everything. The words, the reason why we say them, the ritualistic things. Once you get down, a lot of people are able to do rituals on their own, rituals of their own, people who write rituals for themselves. I mean, it's just the same as you writing a prayer. If you practice Christianity, you're writing a prayer because that's your intention and your purpose, and that's what you would like to see you and God do together, right? So, getting through the Bible and understanding the laws that God has put down in the history of the things that have happened between God and the people that have not listened to said God, and the other gods that actually came and went in between, and the angels as well. Excuse me. So I'm not listing these books from the best to the least best. I'm just mentioning them just kind of happenstance-ish. But the Key of Solomon. So it's the Key of Solomon the King is actually the title, not the Lesser Key of Solomon. The Lesser Key of Solomon is actually it's another separate translation of this actual book. And the Key of Solomon the King was approximately retranslated in the 13th century, which I found that I'm actually working over other people's work here with my own stuff, because I'm like, apparently nobody has any idea of time. But this is a key to modern ceremonial magics. Although the author of this grimoire was traditionally bunny air quotes, traditionally the biblical King Solomon, it was a lot of people believe that it was written in the 13th century. I actually have other people tell me that it is actually written a bit before that, quite a bit. But the reason why is a person by the name of S. Liddell McGregor Mathers in 1888. Mathers actually subsequently had a lot of influence in the Golden Dawn, like I said, the OTO, one of the sources of modern ritual magic. And it is said that he actually co-wrote the rituals with Yeats. Yes, W.B. Yeats. Mathers also translated the Kabbalah, into modernization, which a lot of people